Mortgage rates didn't move much in the last quarter of 2025, and while home prices did ease a bit, there was a major shift.
Well, local communities once labeled as the poster child for cheap waterfront living during the pandemic, now being labeled one of the worst places to sell a home.
High foreclosure rates are on the rise across the country, particularly here in Florida.
Florida's housing market did not stop overnight. It slowed down quietly. In several cities, homes are no longer moving the way they used to. Listings are staying active longer. Buyers are taking their time. Sellers are starting to wait. This change did not begin with a crash or a headline. It started with small signals that many people missed. Just a few years ago, buyers rushed in. Offers came fast. Prices climbed quickly. Now something different is happening. Some Florida cities are showing early signs of stress. Not chaos, not collapse, but a clear shift in how the market behaves. And here's what makes this important. When change starts, it does not hit every place at once. It appears first in specific areas. Those areas tell the story of what may happen next. In this video, we are looking at 10 Florida cities where the slowdown is showing up before the rest. We will explain what is changing, why it matters, and what the numbers actually show, without exaggeration and without guesswork. This is an educational breakdown based on market behavior, not predictions or advice. Now let's begin by answering a simple question. What does it really mean when a housing market starts to freeze? And why does that matter right now? When people hear the phrase market frozen, it can sound extreme. In reality, this term describes a slowdown in activity, not a breakdown of the housing system. Homes are still being bought and sold, but the pace becomes noticeably slower. In a typical market, listings move within a predictable time frame. Buyers make offers, sellers respond, and transactions progress steadily. When a freeze begins to form, that process stretches out. Properties remain listed for longer periods, pricing becomes more flexible, and decisions are made with more caution. This type of shift does not happen all at once. It develops gradually as several pressures appear together. Changes in borrowing costs, higher monthly ownership expenses, and increased housing supply can all influence behavior. When buyers feel less urgency and sellers hesitate to adjust expectations, movement slows. Another important factor is balance. In recent years, many Florida markets favored sellers due to strong demand. During a slowdown, that advantage begins to fade. Buyers gain more time to evaluate options, while sellers face longer waiting periods. Neither side fully controls the market during this phase. It is important to be clear about what this does and does not mean. A slower market does not automatically signal a crash. It does not guarantee falling prices everywhere. It reflects a period where activity cools and expectations adjust after years of rapid growth. Florida's housing market expanded quickly for an extended time. Historically, markets that grow at that speed often experience a phase of normalization. What we are seeing now aligns with that pattern of adjustment rather than sudden failure. These changes rarely appear everywhere at the same time. Certain cities respond earlier based on supply levels, pricing history, and local demand. Those early signals help explain where conditions are shifting first. That is why the next section focuses on specific Florida cities where this slowdown is becoming more visible. So what is causing this change in pace across parts of Florida? The slowdown is not coming from one single event. It is the result of several pressures working together over time. One major factor is affordability. Over the past few years, home prices increased faster than incomes in many areas. When monthly costs rise beyond what buyers feel comfortable paying, demand naturally softens. Even motivated buyers begin to slow down and reassess their options. Borrowing conditions also matter. When interest rates remain higher than they were during the peak buying years, monthly payments increase. This does not stop all buyers, but it reduces urgency. Some people choose to wait, while others lower their budget or pause their search entirely. Another important driver is supply. In several Florida cities, the number of homes available for sale has grown. When more options exist, buyers gain flexibility. Sellers, in turn, face more competition. This shift alone can extend how long properties stay on the market. Ownership costs play a role as well. Expenses such as insurance, maintenance, and property-related fees have become more noticeable in certain regions. These costs influence both buyers deciding whether to enter the market and owners deciding whether selling makes sense. There is also a change in behavior compared to earlier years. Florida experienced an unusually strong wave of demand during the pandemic period. That level of activity was not permanent. As migration patterns normalize, the pace of transactions adjusts with it. None of these factors signal failure on their own. Together, they explain why activity is cooling rather than accelerating. The market is responding to conditions, not breaking down. And because these pressures affect regions differently, some cities reflect the slowdown sooner than others. That brings us to the locations where these signals are becoming visible first. Before we continue, we want to hear from you. Tell us in the comments which Florida city you are watching most closely right now. Are you seeing homes take longer to sell in your area, or does the market still feel active where you live? Your perspective helps everyone understand how local conditions differ across the state. We read every comment, and your input helps shape future videos on this channel. Now let's continue and take a closer look at how these market changes are unfolding. When housing markets begin to slow, the change does not appear everywhere at the same time. It usually shows up first in places that experience faster growth, heavier construction, or sharper price increases in recent years. The following Florida cities are often mentioned by analysts as areas where cooling signals are becoming visible earlier than others. Beginning with Cape Coral, this market expanded very quickly during the housing surge. Over time, more listings entered the market and demand began to cool. As a result, homes are taking longer to sell, and sellers are adjusting expectations more often than before. Looking next at Northport, this area experienced strong construction activity. As new homes became available, buyers gained more choice. With demand slowing slightly, the pace of sales has eased, which is often one of the earliest signs of a market shift. Turning attention to Tampa, the city remains active, but the intensity has changed. Compared to previous years, competition has softened. Buyers are no longer rushing, and transactions are moving at a more measured speed. Shifting over to Orlando, increased inventory has altered market behavior. With more options on the table, buyers are taking additional time to decide. This has reduced pressure on pricing and slowed overall movement. Moving outward to Lakeland, rapid growth attracted many buyers seeking affordability. As supply caught up, that fast momentum settled. This pattern is common in cities that grow quickly over a short period. Focusing now on Port St. Lucie, demand that once moved quickly has become more selective. Homes remain listed longer, which suggests a calmer environment compared to earlier years. In the case of Sarasota and Bradenton, interest remains steady, but activity has cooled. After a strong run-up in values, the market is transitioning into a slower and more balanced phase. Heading north to Jacksonville, conditions are beginning to level out. While buyers are still present, increased availability has reduced urgency, leading to longer selling timelines. Across parts of Northwest Florida, including Pensacola, listings have grown faster than buyer activity. This has eased competition and extended the time homes spent on the market. Rounding out the list with Fort Myers and nearby areas, these locations benefited from strong past demand. Recently, movement has slowed as buyers become more cautious and supply increases. Each of these cities reflects an early adjustment, not failure. They simply show how market changes appear gradually and unevenly across different regions. With these examples in mind, the next step is understanding how this shift affects buyers and sellers going forward. With these changes appearing in parts of Florida, it is natural to ask how this environment affects people on both sides of the market. The answer depends on timing, location, and individual circumstances rather than one single outcome. For buyers, a slower market often brings more breathing room. When homes stay listed longer, there is less pressure to rush decisions. Buyers may have more opportunities to compare options, ask questions, and negotiate terms. This does not mean every property becomes affordable, but it does reduce the urgency that defined earlier years. At the same time, buyers still need to remain realistic. Not every seller will adjust pricing, and well-located or well-maintained homes can still attract interest. A slower pace simply means decisions are more thoughtful rather than rushed. For sellers, expectations play a larger role in this type of market. Homes may require more time to attract attention, and pricing strategies become more important. In many cases, preparation, presentation, and flexibility matter more than speed. It is also important to remember that local conditions vary. A city experiencing cooling signals may still have neighborhoods with steady demand. That is why broad trends should be viewed as context, not instructions. This type of environment often encourages patience on both sides. Buyers evaluate carefully, and sellers adjust gradually. Neither group is in full control, which is typical during periods of transition. The most important takeaway is that slower activity does not equal failure. It reflects a market-finding balance after years of rapid movement. Understanding that balance helps set realistic expectations, which is essential when conditions are changing. That brings us to the final part of this video, where we summarize what this shift really means moving forward. So what does all of this really tell us? Florida's housing market is not moving in one single direction. Some cities are slowing earlier, others are holding steady, and a few may continue to perform differently based on local conditions. What we are seeing is a shift in pace, not a sudden failure of the system. The cities discussed in this video are not warnings of collapse. They are early examples of how markets adjust after years of strong growth. Changes like longer selling times, calmer buyer behavior, and more listings are normal parts of that adjustment process. It is also important to remember that real estate is local. Statewide headlines often miss the details that matter most. Neighborhoods, property types, and timing all influence outcomes. That is why understanding trends is more useful than reacting to noise. If you found this breakdown helpful, let me know by pressing the like button. It supports this channel and helps more people find clear, fact-based explanations. I would also love to hear from you. Which Florida city would you like to see covered next? Are you interested in condos, rentals, or specific metro areas? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more educational content like this, consider subscribing. New videos focus on market behavior, data interpretation, and long-term trends without hype or fear. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.